afternoon. My name is Rodriguez Nicole Taylor, and I am the Medical Office Manager at the Medical Offices of Doctors Finger, Hand, and Foot. Today, I will give an introductory presentation to all of you new and aspiring managers on how to be an effective healthcare manager. Today's agenda includes an introduction to our topic and why good leadership is important, the 5 major functions of management, and 3 different management styles. They say, being a good leader takes strong shoulders because there's a lot to bear as managers, and it is important to have the skills and knowledge to carry that responsibility. When a company improves their approach to training and developing managers and leaders, the following results are seen: 114% higher sales or employee productivity, 70% lower turnover, 71% higher customer satisfaction, and 90% lower absenteeism, to just name a few. We're in healthcare, and we need more productivity to efficiently care for our patients. We need people to stay within the organization because tenure builds more knowledgeable and experienced staff. We want our patients to be satisfied with the care they receive, and we need employees present to do the job that we ourselves cannot do alone. A good and knowledgeable healthcare manager is critical to the success of an organization and the health outcomes of our patients. There are 5 major functions of management, and they are planning, organizing, staffing, leading, and controlling. Knowing, understanding, and being able to effectively execute these 5 major functions is 50% of doing a job well done as a healthcare manager. Expect that each of your workdays will encompass all 5 of these functions, as our primary role as healthcare managers is to support and coordinate care services provided within our specific specialized healthcare organizations. The first of the 5 major functions of management is planning. And why is that? Simple. If you fail to plan, then you plan to fail, as the famous saying goes. Planning requires that you first determine the day's objective and assess what is needed to accomplish the organization's goals. And as a manager, you are to outline the plan, the path in which that objective can be successfully carried. In healthcare, many nurses use the SOAP acronym as an outline to necessary patient care documentation. However, I believe the same acronym can be used when outlining a way in which you keep your plan purposeful. S. Subjective information. This subjective information is what the organization says its goals are, and it's your job to meet these goals. O. Objective information. This objective information is you taking an inventory and making an observation of the resources you need or that are available to you in order to meet those goals. A. Assess. Assessing means determining your priorities and evaluating what needs to be done in order to execute those goals, or at least becoming closer to accomplishing those goals. P, for plan. Once you have gathered all information and assessed what needs to be done, you can then outline your day's tasks, prioritized. Simply put, the planning part of this whole deal encompasses setting your priorities based on organizational goals and determining the performance targets needed to accomplish those goals. An example of planning would be to arrive to work, greet your staff, have a quick team meeting, read emails, then based on the information you have obtained from doing all of those above, outline a task list prioritizing things that must be accomplished for that day. The next major function of management is organizing. And what is organizing? Taking different pieces and putting them together to form results. Those different pieces for a manager are called people. Mary Parker Follett, an American theorist, famously described management as the art of getting things done through people. Getting things done through people cannot happen efficiently or effectively without assigning tasks and grouping those tasks into departments. Assigning authority so that those completing the task have the immediate resources available for questions and support, and for you as a manager to have a streamlined route for communication and follow-up. Organizing also includes allocating resources, whether it be special supplies or additional staff to meet the goals of the organization. An example of organizing in management would be that I, a healthcare manager of an asthma clinic, and so to make the day efficient, I will need to organize my people and assign them to their duties. I then must assign a charge nurse to ensure these tasks are carried out in a way that also supports the charge nurse being a resource for questions and support. Essentially, they would be a resource to mitigate any barriers that may come up and pose a risk for not meeting organization and patient care goals. Lastly, I will need to ensure that my entire team has all of the tools and supplies needed to carry out their assigned tasks. The next function is staffing. Staffing is a very important function of management. It is a layered function in that it requires two focal points, and that is acquiring employees and keeping them. A good leadership team that places an emphasis on employees having workplace satisfaction should only have to focus on the latter. Staffing consists of recruiting, interviewing, and hiring qualified individuals to relieve any staffing deficiencies within a department. Staffing also consists of training, support, and positive employee appreciation and engagement activities to keep employees satisfied with the company, their roles, and your leadership so they will want to stay. The reason this is important is because high employee retention rates save employers money, reflect a high employee morale, reduces any training time needed, and it boosts productivity. An example of staffing would be to look at all of the departments you have and to first consider if there is some employee shifting you can do. Perhaps based on this diagram, someone qualified in the medical call support team can float between the clinic and the treatments and care department until a person is hired and fully trained. Once hiring is finalized, it will be important to host training opportunities that help employees feel valued and challenged, and to also have parties and events that remind them that they are appreciated. As a manager, it will be important to keep an open door policy to address any concerns or frustrations an employee may have to minimize them becoming a turnover risk. Next, the leading function of management deals with driving people to do what needs to be done in a clear, efficient, and effective way. This requires emotional intelligence and a character strength of motivating others. This function also requires the ability to delegate tasks, communicate clearly and effectively, be honest and creative. An example of performing the leading function would be the ER department has been bombarded with potential COVID-19 cases, and one late afternoon, this has become completely unexpected to the team. And currently, there's not enough support to manage the influx of evaluating and possibly giving the care that could be needed. A leader would assess the situation and determine how many patients are present needing care. They would reach out to doctors and nurses from the respiratory clinics to come down to assist, and the inpatient medical surgical department would be contacted as a heads up to prepare for a possible surge in patients that may need admission. Intake specialists in the ER will be made aware of which additional providers are present to add them to the case management board. Housekeeping will be contacted to bring additional PPE. In the ER, the information/assignment board would be updated so that way there's no confusion as to which provider was assigned to do what. The team would be informed honestly about the volume of patients to be seen. However, it will be communicated that if we work efficiently and effectively together, and remember what we were taught about reducing exposure risks, we can all manage this influx of patients and safely and quickly get home to our families. The next management function is controlling, which requires closely monitoring current outcomes and using that information to foresee any limitations or deviations from the plan in place and making changes according to those forecasts. It's basically like playing a complicated game of chess. An example of the controlling function in management would be managing an employee who is showing a trend in her absences, and so the schedule is now accommodated to ensure another person is scheduled for her same shift in the event she continues on the path of calling in on specific days. Or a production increase that took place the previous year would require a manager to consider a recurrence of this surge in the current year and make adjustments to the quantity of supplies that should be ordered as of now. And now we move on to management styles. Just how different parts of the world have differences in people and culture, management styles are the same way in that based on a person's background and experience, they may lean towards managing in a particular style. There are 3 primary styles of managing, and they include directing, delegating, and discussing. The most important thing to note when it comes to these management styles is that they promote a specific way of learning from the person being managed, and in order to maximize the competence and performance from your employees, you must be able to be flexible with using all 3 different managing styles to cater to the individual's needs. So let's start with the management style of directing. We will also share an example of this type of management style and in what scenario it could be most useful for a manager. Directing consists of communicating to your team exactly what needs to be done, how it should be done, and when it is expected to be done. Through this type of management style, employees learn their tasks by listening and following. by listening to what they are being told to do and then following those directions. Directing is a one directional way to manage an employee and does not use any other collaboration between the manager and the employee. The great thing about this style of management is that you can get a lot of productivity out of employees because they can come in, get the job done, and go home at the end of the day. No questions, no follow up needed. The weakness about this management style is that it doesn't make time for employee innovation or challenge, and that can diminish workplace satisfaction for employees who feel they have to have meaningful ideas and they have to be able to contribute. The scenario in which the directing management style is useful will be managing in mass manufacturing or the food service industry. This is because the task and expectations are clear in these settings with an exact timeline for completing each task. These employees typically have no need to collaborate as the process is predetermined and systematic. In healthcare, a nursing home would do well with this style of managing as the patients are long term with little change to care is needed. Next is the management style of discussing. This management style is very mentor focused and collaborative between the employee and the manager. With this type of management style, it is important to facilitate and guide discussion leading to logical problem solving. This style of management leans on asking the employees questions and giving them the autonomy to create their own opportunities for resolving issues. The strength in this management style is that there's a lot of satisfaction a manager can see from seeing an employee excel and grow professionally from all the time put into mentoring. The weakness is that it takes a lot of time to develop and mentor others, and this may take away from your own tasks as a manager. This management style is ideal for a manager of a small department within a large organization. This manager would have the time for discussions, mentoring, collaboration, and follow-up to review and further discuss the results of the tasks in which their employees set forth to accomplish. This management style allows for close developing of others to support growth and building towards bigger opportunities. A manager with a large volume of employees can also pull off this management style for employees who have been identified as high potential, which would allow for directing of the masses, but discussion for those high performing and high potential employees. Lastly, the delegating style of management is one that emphasizes the importance of tackling tasks and projects through assigning either independently or within a small group. The employees here lean on the manager for information that broadens their understanding of their assigned tasks. This management style sees benefits in having employees critique themselves on their performance, and scheduled check-ins take place with the manager and the employee to follow up on tasks and the status and any additional information that may be needed for the project. The biggest strength behind this style of management is that it gives back time for the managers to pursue professional growth in activities or company projects. The weakness this style has is that you have to trust that the most competent, self-sufficient employees are in place to complete these tasks. If not, two things happen. One, the task is back on your plate, and two, you lose time by having to go into the discussion management style mode to educate and develop that employee. That it's not necessarily a bad thing. However, it could be if the goal as a manager is to save more time for yourself by delegating. The best scenario where a delegating style of management can excel would be in project management. These employees work well independent and interdependently and hold high the responsibility of their assigned tasks. Let's consider another scenario. We all need days off, right? So this type of management style would also be ideal in the event that a manager can delegate most of their tasks to a senior employee while they're away on vacation or another project. So whether you lean more towards having a directing, discussion, or delegating management style, it is important to remember that to be a successful healthcare manager, you have to be versatile so that as each day an employee differs, you can manage them to the management style they will both receive and learn from the most. Thank you so much for your time.